BXB. It's in the game!
Hey guys, it's me Ben, back again with another one of my off-the-cuff, from the top of my head reviews based on a whole load of playtime. And this time I'm looking at, as you can see on the screen, Injustice 2 on Xbox One, the sequel to Injustice that came out almost exactly 4 years ago by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Brothers. Obviously NetherRealm, famous for Mortal Kombat and previously Mortal Kombat X. Now, let's talk about, right from the top, how awesome the fighting is in any NetherRealm fighting game. This is my jam. This is my level of an accessibility that you don't find in every other fighting game. A onboarding process, I hate that buzz term, but it is really helpful sometimes when describing things, that is incredibly welcoming to a non-hardcore fighting game player such as myself. Basically what I mean is that you can jump into this, you can pull off a series of familiar and easy to use combos or button presses that can then result in something awesome. What I really like about what they've done in Injustice 2 is that they have used the same sort of family of motions on the controller, so like back or left right A or down right X across all the characters, but all the characters then have different results in that button combination. Obviously that's the very surface level of this fighter, and once you start to really dig into it, you find there's more and more depth to do with the counters, the combos, the blocking, the using of the special moves, the burning of your special meter bar. There's lots and lots of things deep in here that will keep the hardcore gamer totally involved, and I suspect will be used at EVO when it comes around this year. EVO, if you don't know, is the big fighting game tournament that happens every year in America. Now, while that's all in there, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, and therefore I'm not going to pretend to even attempt to talk about this in that sort of expert level. There's just no point. So let's talk about what is being offered here in Injustice 2. It is, in my opinion, one of the most fully featured, no, actually the most fully featured fighting game I have ever experienced. And the first thing that jumps out, and is great fun and far, far better than anything we're seeing on the cinema screen, is the story. Now, you might be totally new to the DC universe, you might maybe have just played Injustice, or you might be very, very well versed in DC. Therefore, you know all the characters and the plot points and stuff like that. That's brilliant, and it works for everyone. This is a comic book story which is deeply rooted in the lore and the mythos. The characters ring true. They are voice acted brilliantly. It's fantastically well written. It's funny. It's engaging, it's emotional, it connects very strongly to the previous Injustice, but I found, considering I didn't finish the previous Injustice story, because that game didn't grab me as much as this one did, I actually found myself able to just as much enjoy this. There's a little bit of setup at the beginning that gives you an idea of where things were left with the characters at the end of the first Injustice, and after that you just dive on in and enjoy it. It's got amazing animation. Honestly, the characters, the faces, the mocap, or in this case it could be keyframe animation, however it's been done incredibly well. The guys at NetherRealm have absolutely excelled at capturing these characters and putting them into this video game in a way that makes them fun to play as, and fun to just engage with the story. Beyond the combat mechanics, how often have you said, the big takeaway from this experience was a story? It's a fighting game, you don't care about the story. But NetherRealm, since Injustice, and to a degree before that Mortal Kombat 9, but definitely Mortal Kombat X, these guys have really doubled down on making a game for the casual fighting game enthusiast like myself, the person that wants to have fun in the beat 'em up, but wants to be drawn in with all the ancillary options, that doesn't necessarily just want to have a hardcore experience, i.e. getting beaten a lot online. So let's talk about the other modes that are included here, because obviously you've got the story mode, you've got one-on-one versus the AI, you've got online versus other players, and that's deep, and there's different levels to that as well. There's a King of a Hill mode. There are these sort of like game rooms where you can join in with loads of other players and they can like challenge you and you can challenge them to different games, or you can just go for a quick match. Beyond that, you've got tournaments for the couch sort of multiplayer experience, as well as obviously adversarial multiplayer. Obviously the story is a big draw for the casual player, but beyond that we've got these AI simulated battles completely unnecessary as a mode. Like, who needed that? Who thought they wanted that? And yet so much fun. You create a team of 3 fighters. You can then set them to defend, and they'll be populated online and go onto the online servers, and you'll get rewards for how well they do against other people. And you can obviously choose 3 fighters to fight other people, again with rewards at the end of them. And you just sit back and watch these fights. You watch these fights in fast forward, in 4 times multiplied speed. It's hilarious, but at the same time you can watch them slowly. You can pick up tips, you can pick tips, tricks, different ways of playing with those characters. All of this adds to the experience and the progress of your characters. And in Injustice 2, the big, brave, interesting, exciting difference here is that this is a fighting game with a full-on RPG-esque loot mechanic. So in this you have gear. And basically you get gear out of completing various objectives, out of getting through the story in various modes, and out of unlocking these mother boxes. And these mother boxes will just help you, open up more and more and more gear as you go. And don't worry, there is microtransactions, but you can't actually buy the mother boxes with microtransactions. You can only buy things that can alter the cosmetic appearance of characters. But trust me, you're going to get more loot than you know what to do with. This game has got a deep roster, and every one of those guys has got multiple iterations of loot, from commons to uncommons to ultra rares to epics. You name it, you will pick it up. From the different pauldrons for Superman to a different belt for Batman. You name it, you're going to find it. You're going to customize your character, and these bits of gear will affect the stats. They will affect the appearance of the character. It's awesome, and what it does is it incentivizes you to play more. And one of the other big new single player modes in Injustice 2 is this thing called the multiverse. And in the multiverse, you basically have, remember the tower mode from Mortal Kombat X? It's a bit like that, but there's more of a story wrapper around it. The DC universe is built around this infinite multiverse concept. So this idea that you can go to different Earths, and on different Earths there'll be different iterations of the characters you know and love. So each one of these worlds has got a little story wrapper, enough little reasons to give you a go and get you involved, and then each one of those things will have a different series of fights and battles with different modifiers and different locations. It's brilliant. There's so much to do in this game, and you're just going to want to come back again and again and again, not just because it plays great, not just because the story's great, but because of the way that gear works. When you unlock gear, it's often a level or 2 above where your character is. So what that makes you want to do is, it makes you want to push on more with that character. It makes you want to play more with that guy until you can put that cool new piece of loot on. And guess what? When you do that, and when you get to that level, there'll be another piece of gear that will be there waiting for you, incentivizing you, making you want to go further. I'm breathless with my love for this game. This is the best fighting game I have ever played. And I've been playing fighting games, as a casual enthusiast since Street Fighter 2 on the SNES. I have played all the Mortal Kombat. I have played everything that comes along. I love a good fighting game. But there is something about this game that is accessible and yet deep, that is pick up and play and yet compulsive, that makes you want to come back again and again and again. NetherRealm have looked at how well loot boxes have been implemented in games such as Overwatch as a way of incentivizing you to keep coming back for more, and they've absolutely nailed it in Injustice 2. This is an exemplary fighting game. From the moment-to-moment gameplay, to the wrappers in the story, and to the way this whole game is presented to you with a myriads of options and things to be doing at all times. I haven't even really talked about the guild side of things or anything like that. There is so much going on in Injustice 2. I love it. You're going to find yourself wanting to spend hours and hours on this. And therefore, because this is such a special experience, what I see as the pinnacle of the fighting genre, especially on the current generation of consoles, perhaps on every generation of consoles, I can't give this game any less than 5 out of 5 stars.
BXB. It's in the game.